Well, let's see here. What do we got? We got, oh, while we're at it, these are the old kingpins that came out. This is the Canby truck, Datsun Canby truck. Okay, you can see one is was pretty chewed up. Okay, and the top, the notch here is up. Okay, so this is the bottom one, and it's usually the bottom one that gets the brunt of the abuse. Weather-wise, water-wise, you know, this is rust from water seeping down in and chewing it up. Weight-wise, the upper one gets hammered quite a bit. They both get hammered, but on the 620 they made the upper one bigger and more beefy, spread the load more and that stuff so it would last longer. So bottom one saw more, well, they both saw about the same damage, but if you notice, it's on opposite sides. You know, most of this damage is right here where it's on the opposite side up here, and that's because when the kingpin is in there, the load is twisting on it. So, and you can see the damage around the at the slots there. They whoever put those in did not get them lined up when they hammered them in. But one thing I'm going to do here before I sandblast, glass bead, whatever, however it is, wire wheel, I haven't quite decided yet how I'm going to clean the spindle up the rest of the way. But what I do want to do is I want to go around and pick up any damage or burrs. So, see that? So that got hammered pretty good. That got hammered pretty good. It's got corrosion on it. It's not shiny, so it had to be pre-existing damage that was done before. Also, too, the nose here, you can tell it's been hammered on pretty good. So I'll check that out and maybe see about cleaning that up, make sure there aren't any burrs. I'm also looking for burrs around the here and here, so my adapters will slip on okay and everything. Alright, this is my bigger concern. See how it's recessed? There's a lip all the way around. Okay, and that's from probably before they rebuilt the kingpins, because the shims, that's where the shims contact, and those shims were actually in pretty good shape. But what happens is they don't get enough grease, they get sticky, they get rusted, and they start grinding on here, and they cut this valley in here and leave a high spot. The reason that's bad is when you fit the dog bone, in, okay, you have to measure those clearances, okay, and you have to shim that up to make it tight. Well, if you try to measure it with feeler gauges with that lip there, you're never going to get it accurate. I found that it's almost easier to put the parts in and push the dog bone up, or push this down, and take your measurements that way. But I do want to clean that lip up. Okay, I don't want to have to deal with that valley when I'm doing the measurements and stuff like that. So there is, you know, maybe there's really no damage there. Just very slight inconsistencies there. Not enough to really worry about. It looks like the damage is up at the top. This is the other spindle. Similar damage. No particular damage down here, and not near as much of a recess over here. So this one's not too bad. The end is still hammered on. That's definite. It's not enough of an issue to bother trying to, you know, I could chuck it up in the lathe. There's a point back here for the center, and there's a point here for the center. So you could put it in there and turn it, and I could clean that up with the lathe, but why? As long as it doesn't stop me from putting the washer or the nut on or anything like that, cotter pin and everything goes in, dust cap goes on, it's insignificant damage. So I'm just going to take a small flat file and let's see. I don't want to push too hard. It bends, it flexes the file. Let's check on another file. Now, this one might cut a little faster, but it's a hair thicker. Okay. And what I'm looking to do is basically get rid of the file marks. Okay, there's still file marks over here, so that tells me it's still the low spot. Is it low enough to bother it, make a difference? I kind of doubt it. But I'm here. And this is going on somebody else is going to be driving this, not me, so dot the I's, cross the T's. Let's check it. Yeah, basically what I've been seeing, this spot's still pretty low. I'm sure it's a lot flatter than it was and more than close enough, so just do one last little check here just to see where we're sitting, and then we'll move on. Okay, now just in case I cut it, edit it out later, I just wanted to point this out. The spindle's right side up, okay? So there's a right way and a wrong way to put the bearing in. This way, the water runs down and collects right inside there. So if you look, this bearing is basically hooded. Now it has to be open on the top here because the grease is going to be getting squeezed in. It's got to let some grease get out here and get up to the pin and that stuff. But when the water comes down on the outside and that stuff, you know, the grease should be in there as a seal, basically, keeping it out. But you don't want it to run down and sit on top of that groove. So that feels pretty nice. I'm not feeling it hang up on any lips or anything like that. So I like that. And before you ask, I will clean these again when I'm all done before I assemble them, because I got sanding abrasive down inside there. When I glass bead these, I'm going to have to clean them, you know, after that too. So I'm going to clean these up, because otherwise we might have a pretty hard time getting those steering arms back in. You don't want to get too carried away and take much more off than just the damage, because you don't want that to get sloppy loose on the steering arm. So, I mean, it's hitting some high points here, stuff like that, but that's about it. And if you don't have an air grinder or a Dremel, you could detail the hell out of these with a file. Nice. Last time I did this, I did it with the zert fittings removed already. That was a pain in the butt. So they're 8mm. I'm going to go ahead and leave them on for now. And what I'm going to do is, since I have no clue what the condition of the grease is in there, anything like that, I want to clean these zert fittings out. So I'm going to take the grease gun, maybe, put it on there. Oh, let's see if we can turn it to where you can see it there. Okay, I'm going to try to keep it in frame, and maybe you get a chance to see it squared out of there. I can't exactly put it with the zert fitting down, so. All right, that one squeezed through easy. Oh, I buried it. There was a chunk of dirty grease that came out first. Well, we'll do the other one. We'll see if we can. Yeah, there it is. See that chunk of grimy crap? Let's turn it this way. Okay, so if I had not cleaned the grease fittings out, as soon as I squirted grease in there to get them prepped, I'd have put debris right in there. So make sure you clean those things out first. Or put new ones in if you feel like it. Alright, that's 2 down. Yep, see there's another chunk there. So these will get all degreased and cleaned up again. Actually, the grease will all get sprayed off and cleaned up before they go in the glass bead cabinet. Last thing I want is greasy glass beads in there. Well, they've been degreased, cleaned up, and glass beaded. Next up, I'm going to finish degreasing the lower control arms so that I can get them into the evapo-rust. Well, these are the upper control arms for the Canby 521 truck. And the rubber's in good shape. Okay, that's nice. So I want to make sure I didn't want to, the rubber didn't get hurt or anything like that by putting it in the degreaser. The mineral spirits is what I use. It shouldn't be harmed by the deruster, but I don't want all that stuff still stuck inside the bearings. All that's got to get, I got to clean out the grease and that stuff in here. So to take them off, I'm not going to bother taking the nut off like I did on the other one. I had to. If this was bolted together still, I'd have to. But since it's not, I can I can put it in the vise and spin it off. Oh yeah, it's all gummed up. Wow. Boy, that was stiff. Okay, I'll put that one in the vise. And there's no left or right. You just got to make sure when you put it back together, you don't put this one on the other end of that one because of where the bump stop saddles are. Okay? You know, they're identical left and right, but each of these pieces, there's a front and a back. So, oh. Alright, so just lift it up a little bit, get it over that bump there, because there's a bump molded into the rubber here that fits in there. That gets the outer seal out. And then this one's the same way. There we go. Well, I'm starting to load up the container here. It's just a Rubbermaid roughneck that picked it up at Home Depot. They're not very expensive. I could do it in a 5-gallon bucket, but I wanted something that would lay flat. I don't want to have to put any more rust remover in than I have to. You know, I don't want to have to put 5 gallons of it in, basically. And somebody told me mixing it 1-to-1, it still works great. I'm not under a huge time constraint, so if this has to sit in 2 days instead of 1 day. Well, one last peek at the upper control arms before they go into the rust remover. And this will give us a pretty good idea how well that stuff works.
You know, some of this I'm not quite sure. Whoops. It's almost like dirt. I just really didn't want to spend a ton of time scrubbing, so we'll see how they come out in the rust remover. Now, when I did the degreaser and that stuff, I did make sure this is water goes in real easy. It's not sealed here or down in these corners very much, so it drains out after a while. But I did make sure I got degreaser down in there and then rinsed it out real good. I'll have to do the same with the rust remover, rinse it out real good and then blow it dry. And I tried to get all the grease out of there I could. I have no clue if it will hamper, you know, hinder it, what it'll do. So anyway, I just don't want to contaminate it any more than I have to. So let's put it in the tank. Well, I got it loaded up. What I tried to do was, since I already told you those are where water can get in, I tried to put them up a little bit. Now I also pulled out the grease fittings out of each cap, so the air will come out and the rust remover will go up inside. I'm not too worried about rust remover up in there because it's not, you know, it's always been lubricated, so it's not rusty in there. But I did want to help try to get the rust and still try to keep everything as low as possible. And I'm hoping to get away with 2 gallons. This is the gallon I previously used. And I don't think it was diluted. Everybody says you can reuse it, so I'm going to do 1 to 1 and we'll see what happens. Okay, now here's a brand new gallon. I'm waiting for the other one to fill up. My faucet's running really slow, so I'm waiting for the water to fill up. So if it doesn't take 2 gallons to put it over the top, then I'll just leave it less diluted. We'll see. I don't know whether it'll make any difference or not, but I am filling it with fairly hot water. We don't have our thermostat set all that high, so. See if we can't get it stirred up a little bit here. Oh, looks like 1 more gallon just might do the trick. Oh man, there's just the tiniest bit right there. Now, that first bucket wasn't quite full, the first gallon, so alright, that put it up over. I'm not concerned with it being airtight, I just don't want crap falling in it. I'm really hoping to not have to mess with these at all, basically. I'll probably put zert fittings back in where those nuts are. Because in order to grease them, you got to pull it out, put a zert fitting in, grease it, put the plug back in. Royal pain in the butt for proper maintenance. This piece I pulled out earlier and showed a friend of mine who was down visiting. Hit it with the brass wire brush just a little bit. There's no rust on it. But the paint, okay? So anyway, I have touched this one already. I'm just going to set it on the upside down lid there. That one I pulled out. That's why it's sitting up, because when I dropped it back in I didn't care. So this one here that I'm pulling out now, I have not touched or looked at. And this is Evapor rust. And I think that's dirt. You know, you can see where the paint, you know, comes up pretty nice. So everything should be soft enough, done enough. All the rust is gone. That's the big thing. Now for this, I'm going to go clean it off a bit, dry it off, and then I'll probably hit them in the glass bead cabinet just to get the stuff that's hanging on. But let's go rinse one off and see what we get. rinsed off, hot water, spray wand. That's all the water pressure there was. And then I blew it off. So roughly 50-50. Half of what came off above and beyond what you just saw was the water, and the other half was the air pressure. Air pressure actually did probably take off 2/3 of it. And it dawned on me too with how I had it sitting in there. This was an air pocket underneath there, because when I had it sitting in there, air got trapped. So I guess I should probably, wiggle them around a little bit better. I thought you'd like to see how these came out, since they had some of the heaviest rust on them. Of course, I hit them with the wire wheel, and the heavy rust was all just right there in that pocket. All gone. And they do have an R and an L on them for left and right. Well, the washer's going, so I'm going to make this quick. But Albert, if you watch this, this is basically how you're going to get the parts back. I'm going to leave the paint to you, so that way you can paint it with the same stuff you're painting the rest of the chassis with. That way it'll match perfectly. And plus two, I don't want to screw with painting. Anyway, if you look down in here, you still see some black and stuff like that. Now the bigger sandblaster will probably get that out, but what that is the flux. Because they used to use stick welders to put these together. I've shown this, talked about it on a couple other videos, but it's the slag, which is created by the flux. But yeah, they used stick welders. They didn't have MIG with the shielding gas. So, they're certainly clean enough to paint. Just spray them off with brake cleaner, wipe them down with a degreaser or something like that, and then paint them. You can still see there's a little texture left there from the rust and that stuff, but they're nice and rust free now. I might have to hit that again. It's hard to see in the sandblaster. And so when it starts skipping and stuff like that, you think you got an area, and then you realize that you didn't. So, and a lot of times, until you get it out under the light like this, you don't really notice it. So there's the steering arm. I will touch up that other one a little bit. And I think that's it. Let's see here. Other than, there'll be a little bit more about putting them together. But I think we're done with all the cleaning. Oh no, a little bit more. Here's how these came out. So I still need to, hit these with the glass beads. But that's no big deal. It hurts to stand at the glass bead cabinet, so I may just be done for today. Well, my buddy Dave's coming over here in a minute with his family. We're going out to Chang's. I realized when I was talking to Albert on the phone just a couple minutes ago that this is something else I still need to prep. So these are hubs off 620, early 720 maybe. So these are going on the Canby truck. So I figured, well, as long as I'm waiting for them, I went out and grabbed them. Figured might as well start prepping them. I already have new lug bolts for them. And I have new caps too. And if you notice, they're different sizes. Or at least different styles. Okay. Don't need any of that. That one's still in there. Oh, I was kind of hoping to get them in the parts cleaner before leaving, but Yes, I'm using the proper tool for the proper job. This is a brake adjusting tool. I have a seal puller in the drawer behind me. What's your point? These I will save and use. There's no easy way to find an equivalent. So I've actually gone to the scrapyard and specifically pulled these before. Do not want that in the parts cleaner tank. There's no point in diluting it like that. This is the rust in the middle here that causes all the grief trying to get them out. Okay, that's where it gets stuck and why you have to hammer out or press on it really hard. The rust down here on the bottom or the top of the kingpin, this is the bottom down here where all the rust is, that's on the bushing. And so when this rusts away and that stuff, it just gets really loose and sloppy. So it comes out of the spindle no problem. It's this section right here that causes all the grief. So if you can get that cotter bolt out or get some penetrating oil in there before you go taking them apart, that's the best way to do it. Well, that's just about everything. Just dawned on me that the upper cross shafts that go in the upper control arms, those are still sitting in the parts cleaner, so I'll have to pull those out, clean them up. Otherwise, we're pretty much ready here. And this video may come out after these parts are already out of the shop. We'll see how long it takes me to get to the editing and stuff. But today's Monday, the holiday, President's Day, whatever the heck day it is. And I've committed to shipping all these parts down to Albert on Saturday. Rick, one of the guys from up north, it's Rick Rat, he's going to swing by and pick them up and take them down there. And that's awesome. So then basically all the guys that are showing up next weekend to help on the truck, these are parts that they'll be able to put together, and hopefully by the end of the weekend they'll have a running truck, or not a running truck, a rolling chassis. Because I know this is not having a front end on it's made it a bit more of a challenge to them. So I'm going to get the last of the parts cleaned up, and then I can start the modifications for the disc brake setup. Oh, I got to put the kingpins back together too.